And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy.
I don't want you to protest, I don't want you to riot, I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it! My life has value.
We're not just going to let you walk out of here.
Take a giant step for mankind.
Get together, have a few laughs.
Welcome to the Iowa Talk Guys podcast. I'm your host, Teepee.
I'm Erock.
And I'm Mel.
And tonight, we're talking about land grabs. And not the land grabs that you would think. This isn't a story about Russia or Putin. This is a story about El Presidente, Donald J. Trump. I don't know why I went El Presidente with that. But, because I see here on this article, it says President-elect, and that's not right. Because this is an old article, but... Anyways... We have here, starting off, we're just going to get right into it. This is an abcnews.com article from January 7th, 2025 by Shannon K. Kingston. Trump threatens land grabs of Panama Canal, Greenland, even by force. Can he? Analysis. Then it says, since this was January 7th, it says, the president-elect claims it's vital for national and economic security. And this is interesting too. And before that, before he took the presidency, he was talking about making Canada the 51st state as well. And we'll get into that also. So there was a bunch of people that we saw online. They're all like, hell yeah, take Panama back over. Take over Greenland. Take over Canada. Fuck them. It's our land. It's like, so... And these are the same group of people that are like, we need to leave Ukraine and Russia to themselves and let them just be bygones. Bygones be bygones, right? This is the same group. But they're all like, Russia land grab. Bad. None of our business, which it's not. But now they're just all for just like, yeah, let's go in and take Greenland and Panama and even Canada by force if we have to. Just because we're bigger doesn't mean we should be going around taking land from people. That was one of the biggest arguments about why the U.S. Biden administration decided that they had to support Ukraine, was because this is the 21st century and there's no need for land expansion anymore, right?
Right.
Sure.
So I'll start the article off. As President-elect, or now President Donald Trump, prepares to assume later this month, he is ramping up his threats to take over critical shipping artery and strategic foreign land, suggesting he could even use military force to do so. Quote,
I'm not going to commit to that, Trump said on Tuesday when he asked if he would rule out using the U.S. military to gain control of the Panama Canal and Greenland during a news conference at Mar-a-Lago. It might be that you'll have to do something. Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country, he continued. Also saying, we need Greenland for national security purposes, he added. We need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. Trump also slammed former President Jimmy Carter for overseeing diplomatic negotiations to turn over the Panama Canal, which the U.S. finished constructing in 1914 and controlled until Jimmy Carter conceded authority in 1977 with the Panama Canal Treaty.
And that's about the time where the economic hitmen started going down to Panama Canal, right? Because they knew there was going to be a ton of money moving through there once commerce and all this stuff starts being pushed through the Panama Canal, not just for militaries.
Right.
But also,
they're saying like China's controlling the Panama Canal, and like they're using it to ship drugs through, and like they're letting China go through with all their stuff really cheap, and they're taxing U.S. ships and like even the Navy. They're like charging the Navy an obscene amount of money to go through the Panama Canal.
Yeah, they have total control over it, and that's part of that is due to the extreme measures that these economic hitmen took in Panama, trying to take it over before or not necessarily the U.S. military taking it over, but these, like I said, economic hitmen. If you read that book by John Perkins, he talks all about it, all about this Panama Canal Treaty and a lot of the background stuff happening. It's very, very eye-opening and interesting. But also, so it said, on another side note, thinking about like this mud flood stuff or whatever, if you want to call it, but 1914, that's around the same time like all these other major structures were built in America and stuff, right? That's just food for thought on the back end.
The Panama Canal is a disgrace. What took place at the Panama Canal? Jimmy Carter gave it to them for $1, and they were supposed to treat us well. I thought it was a terrible thing to do, Trump said. Despite Trump's focus on expanding American territory, his strategy for achieving his objectives remained hazy, and many of the claims the president provided to rationalize the takeovers range from arguable to dubious, experts say. They broadly agree that Greenland holds an important strategic location and is rich in lithium, graphite, and other minerals. However, the world's largest island is already host to a U.S. military base, and long-standing treaty gives Washington significant control over Greenland's defense. Greenland and Denmark are also NATO allies. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. That's for the free world. I'm talking about protecting the free world, Trump said. On Panama, Trump has repeatedly claimed that the canal is run by China. China! And that U.S. ships are charged more than vessels operated by other countries to cross through it. They don't treat us fairly. They charge more for our Navy than they charge for navies of other countries. They laugh at us because they think we're stupid, but we're not stupid anymore. In reality, the Panama Canal Authority, the PCA, which is controlled by the Panamanian government, operates the waterway, and 1977 diplomatic treaty with the U.S. mandates that all countries must be allowed to use it for peaceful transit, and that there is to be no discrimination against any nation or its citizens or subjects concerning the conditions or charges. Accordingly, the tariffs and tolls associated with crossing the canal are determined by the size and type of the vessel and the cargo it carries, not the flag the ship sails under. While the costs associated with using the waterway have risen in recent years, limits imposed on the canal's capacity due to a historic drought are behind the price hike. China's expanding influence in Panama and across Central America are more broadly has sparked concern on both sides of the aisle. But the same 1977 treaty authorizes the U.S. to intervene if the canal's neutrality is jeopardized. Authorizing a military intervention with the intent of taking over the Panama Canal or Greenland is another matter. Authorities of Panama and Greenland have reportedly said that they won't hand over any territory to Trump, with Panama's president declaring that the canal is going to stay in our hands forever, and Denmark's prime minister insisting Greenland is not for sale.
Mr. Trump, fuck off.
She's not for sale.
The U.S. Constitution gives Congress the sole ability to declare war on a foreign power, and once the war is declared, gives the president wide-ranging authority to execute the conflict. But presidents have often used military force without congressional approval, including against Panama. In December 1989, former President George H.W. Bush launched an invasion of Panama to overthrow the country's de facto ruler, General Manuel Noriega. The intervention, which was widely supported by the American public at the time, set Panama on a path towards democracy, but was condemned by the United Nations as a violation of international law.
Yeah, probably because they bombed a bunch of innocent people and civilians and stuff, but, the U.S. doesn't do that, though.
This is a YouTube short from Top 10 Man 10.
Did you know the U.S. invaded Panama in 1989 to remove its dictator and secure the Panama Canal Zone? This operation, known as Operation Just Cause, was one of the largest U.S. military actions since the Vietnam War. At the center of it all was Manuel Noriega, Panama's dictator and a former CIA asset. Accused of drug trafficking and threatening the security of the Canal Zone, in December 1989, President George H.W. Bush ordered the invasion.
My fellow citizens, last night I ordered U.S. military forces to Panama. No president takes such action lightly. This morning, I want to tell you what I did and why I did it. For nearly 2 years, the United States, the nations of Latin America and the Caribbean, have worked together to resolve the crisis in Panama. The goals of the United States have been to safeguard the lives of Americans, to defend democracy in Panama, to combat drug trafficking, and to protect the integrity of the Panama Canal Treaty. Many attempts have been made to resolve this crisis through diplomacy and negotiations. All were rejected by the dictator of Panama, General Manuel Noriega, an indicted drug trafficker.
Over 27,000 U.S. troops entered Panama with the goal of capturing Noriega, restoring democratic rule, and protecting the Canal Zone. Fierce fighting broke out. Within days, Noriega sought refuge in the Vatican Embassy. U.S. forces used psychological tactics, like blasting rock music, until he surrendered on January 3, 1990. Operation Just Cause was short but impactful, ending Noriega's reign and reinforcing the U.S.'s commitment to the Panama Canal Zone.
I remember watching things about some guys talking about Panama, and like he said that he fucking like went into a room and just opened up on a bunch of people, and it like he can't shut his eyes without thinking about that moment.
Maybe he shouldn't have done that.
Right.
I don't know.
Trump has also said he could use economic pressure to force countries to capitulate to his agenda, including Canada, which the president-elect has repeatedly said should become the 51st state. Because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of the artificially drawn line and you take a look at what that looks like. It would also be so much better for national security, Trump said.
Isn't that just what that line between Eastern and Western Ukraine is just an artificially drawn line?
Right, just like all the lines in the states that fucking people have been saying are fake, you know, like why do I get in trouble for taking one thing over a state line?
It's magic. It's the magic of law. It's
like
the magic of law.
The border of Mexico. Is that an imaginary line too?
Yeah, it sure is. Or it has been for the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, for 4 years or so, that's definitely been imaginary.
It was apparently imaginary in all those South American countries that they came walking through too.
Canada's outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau responded to Trump's statements on a post on X, writing, "There isn't a snowball's chance in hell that Canada would become part of the United States."
A snowball's chance? Is that what he said?
Snowball's chance, yeah. Says there isn't a snowball's chance in hell.
Wow. As he steps down from the prime minister position.
Then
he said that.
Down immediately afterwards. Workers and communities in both our countries benefit from being each other's biggest trading and security partner, he said. Congress has delegated much of its foreign economic authority to the White House, but the biggest speed bump impeding Trump's ability to impose tariffs on Canada may be the trade deal negotiated under Trump himself, the United States, Mexico, Canada Agreement, USMCA. The USMCA, which is not due for review until 2026, allows any member to withdraw from it, but requires that the exiting country wait 6 months before reconsidering benefits to the other parties.
Yeah, it sounds just as dumb as the YMCA, which I don't understand why Trump keeps dancing to that.
Yeah, what is up with that? But we'll get to that later, the inauguration later.
Yeah, did you see that Indian doing the double Nazi salute?
You mean the Native American, you bigot, swine?
The double Nazi salute.
CBS News Chicago, February 8, 2025.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is imploring business and labor leaders in his country to take President Trump's threats to make Canada the 51st state seriously.
But Mr. Trump has it in mind that one of the easiest ways of doing that is absorbing our country. And it is a real thing. In my conversation with him
Well, Trudeau made those remarks at a closed-door summit. They were picked up by a hot mic. He emphasized that a united front will be needed across the Canadian economy to resist what he expects to be punishing treatment from the U.S. in the next few years. Trudeau is set to leave office in a little over a month once the ruling Liberal Party picks his successor.
The president's clears path to fulfilling one of his promises to redraw the world map, maybe renaming the Gulf of Mexico, which he vowed to change to Gulf of America. What a beautiful name, he said, and it's appropriate.
Stupid. Why? That's like renaming the colleges and the military bases and stuff. Just petty, stupid shit. Why?
Right. And they're going to put McKinley back on Mount McKinley.
That's weird.
Yeah. He said he wants it to change it back to Mount McKinley. I can't remember what it's called now.
The name of the highest mountain in North America became a subject of dispute in 1975, when the Alaska legislature asked the U.S. federal government to officially change its name from Mount McKinley to Denali.
Yeah, what's Fort Bragg?
I don't know. I wasn't in the Army, so I don't know.
Fort Bragg was officially renamed Fort Liberty on June 2, 2023, as part of a U.S. Army initiative to remove names associated with Confederate leaders.
Yeah, so that was a good article by ABC. But here's another article by BBC that Mel found by Kayla Epstein, December 24th, 2024. Greenland and the Panama Canal aren't for sale. Why is Trump threatening to take them? Trump ran on a platform of isolating the U.S. from foreign conflicts like the Ukraine war, increasing tariffs on foreign trade partners, and rebuilding domestic manufacturing. But in recent days, he has suggested a more outwardly aggressive approach for his foreign policy. At first, he joked about Canada being an additional state to the U.S., since he has threatened to take back control of the Panama Canal. Trump said in a social media post that the U.S. feels that the ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity. The U.S. maintains Pitufik Space Base in Greenland. The territory is rich with natural resources, including rare earth minerals, and occupies a strategic location for trade as global powers seek to expand their reach in the Arctic Circle. You know, because of global warming, everything's melting up there. We've talked a couple years ago about... we've talked a couple years ago about new oil fields and natural gas fields that were opening up for Russia, and China was going up there trying to make grabs on them and stuff too. So yeah, the U.S. probably definitely wants a piece of that. Russia in particular sees the region as a strategic opportunity. Trump floated the idea of purchasing Greenland in 2019 during his first term as president, and it never came to fruition. Greenland's Prime Minister, Mute B. Edgedi, responded to Trump's latest comments this week, this is back in December, saying, "We are not for sale and will not be for sale," quote unquote.
On January 21, 2025, Anders Vistsen, a Danish member of the European Parliament, rejected the idea that Greenland could ever be for sale, and made these remarks to Trump during a parliamentary session.
Dear President Trump, listen very carefully. Greenland have been part of the Danish kingdom for 800 years. It's an integrated part of our country. It is not for sale. Let me put it in words you might understand. Mr. Trump, fuck off.
On Truth Social, Trump's account showed an image of an American flag being planted in the middle of the Panama Canal. His second eldest son, Erock Trump, posted an image on X that showed the U.S. adding Greenland, the Panama Canal, and Canada to an Amazon online shopping cart. What a dickweed. For Trump, promises to use America's might to his advantage helped propel his two successful presidential campaigns. It was a tactic he used during his first presidency, threatening tariffs and the deployment of armed soldiers to steer Mexico into beefing up enforcement along its U.S. border. Huh. And then that just went away after Trump left. Oh, that's weird. While it remains to be seen what will happen, Denmark has expressed a willingness to work with his administration. It also has announced a huge boost in defense spending for Greenland, hours after Trump repeated his desire to purchase the Arctic territory. Weird.
Since we mentioned like Mexico and the Mexican border, what do you guys think about Trump declaring the cartels as terrorists?
Well, I really hope that he does not send U.S. troops in there. If anything, he's probably going to get the CIA involved. Hopefully, maybe just use some special teams, if anything. But if they do send military just as advisors to train their military, but they're so corrupt, dude. It's going to turn into like that same time that they sent the CIA down to Colombia to try to get rid of the cocaine dealers down there. Look how well that worked out.
Super.
Yeah. All these CIA agents turned into coke dealers. Weird.
Yeah.
And then flooded the streets of America with cocaine. And then they're like, you know what?
Even in the White House, they're dropping bags.
Yeah. And that was probably Kamala's.
A little bit better.
It's probably Kamala's bag. Well, and then also the CIA was responsible for the crack epidemic, too, out in California, out west.
Yeah, don't do drugs.
He could use calling the cartels terrorists as a way to like put more money into a border along Mexico. Like, we need to stop the terrorists, because you know how fucking people get all antsy in their pantsy when they hear that word.
Well, dude, that's the real scary thing, is that I know what U.S. Marines do. I know what the U.S. Marine Corps would do. And it wouldn't be good for the people of Mexico at all if he sent troops in there, if he sent Marines in there. I mean, they're going to get them. They're going to kill everyone. You know what I mean? If they were given that order, unfortunately, that's the one good thing that they're good at.
Shit, I'm going to Cancun here coming up next month.
So I would hate to see that happen, honestly. But it's probably going to end up, they're going to start working with the Mexican government, and then everybody working with them is going to get corrupted by the cartels, and nothing's going to change.
So, like, obviously, if they declare them a terrorist threat, they're gonna, like, if they capture Mexican cartel fucking people, they're gonna do the same thing that they did to, like, Al Qaeda people, where they put them in fucking Gitmo and shit, or are they just gonna send them to, like, federal prisons? Because there's a federal prison not that far from us. So you're just saying, like, you're just gonna take these cartel members and just stick them in America? Like, why? What? I'm not really understanding the point of declaring them a terrorist organization when they're not really fucking with us.
Well, they are, by helping bring in fentanyl and the human trafficking, getting these people into our country and stuff. They would.
Then just go, like, yeah. Why send them? Why send the military after that? Like, why are we not sending like the DEA? Make them. Isn't that what they're here for? Make them do their fucking job.
Oh, apparently they can't. I mean, but we have El Chapo's son and we have a bunch of cartel members in federal prisons right now. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, is that? I mean, I'm not really understanding his whole like declare it now, because like that you're just asking to go to war right now, declaring them a fucking terrorist threat. Because what happened last time a terrorist attacked us? You know, we went to war for 20 fucking years.
What would you do if you were asked to give up your dreams for freedom? What would you do if asked to make the ultimate sacrifice?
So moving on from there, let's just explain a little bit more, get into detail as to how important that this is, why Trump wants to take these over. This is how important they are. You know, we went through it on some of the articles, but a couple of these here that we found, they touch on a little bit more.
The only thing I know about Greenland is from Mighty Ducks.
Oh, was that the second one they went there?
Is Iceland. And Iceland is Greenland.
Yeah. Iceland is green and Greenland is ice.
Yeah.
That's where I learned that from. That was from Mighty Ducks.
Wait a minute. I thought Iceland was covered with ice.
Iceland? No, it's very green.
I thought Greenland was green.
Greenland is covered with ice, and Iceland is very nice.
Good old 90s movies when they actually taught you stuff.
And I've been to Iceland, and it's fucking icy and cold.
That's weird.
So Greenland must suck even more.
Did you see that picture of the fucking Air Force base in that article where all you could see is fucking snow? It's like a C-130 fucking, and all you see is just snow, piles of snow.
Looks like winter paradise.
Wait till we go to Mars. That's gonna be even worse.
Wait, how is it gonna be worse when we go to Mars for snow?
Because we're gonna put American flags on there, and it's gonna be a bunch of fucking rock.
Bunch of fucking
Ain't no
rock.
fucking trees.
Well, they're going to have to learn how to terraform it. Don't you read science fiction?
Read a comic book once in a while. Jeez.
You Neanderthal.
Fucking off himself in a bunker before that happens.
Oh my gosh, dude. We can't put this shit on YouTube when you say stuff like that. I have to bleep it out. Okay. Panama turned its canal into a moneymaker. History shows why Trump's threats are sounding the alarm bells. By Patrick Oatman, CNN, January 20, 2025. Born from, quote, gunboat diplomacy, unquote, the Panama Canal is under threat from U.S. saber-rattling once again. More than 100 years after the construction of the engineering marvel that linked the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, and 25 years after the canal was returned to Panama by the U.S., the waterway faces renewed intimidation from an American president. U.S. President Donald Trump, in his inaugural address, vowed to wrest the canal back.
We have been treated very badly for this foolish gift that should have never been made. And Panama's promise to us been broken,
Trump said, claiming that Panama overcharges the U.S. Navy to transit the canal.
Above all, China is operating the Panama Canal.
Trump also said, a frequent claim he has made without providing any evidence.
And we didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama. And we're taking it back.
I'm sorry I can't do a good Trump, but Panamanian officials have scoffed at Trump's latest claims that the country charges too much for ships to transit the canal, or that China secretly is taking control of the waterway. Still, his threats are not taken idly by Panamanians who consider the canal to be central to their national identity and depend on lucrative canal traffic.
What does everybody expect when they're ordering all this shit off Temu?
What do you mean?
Fucking China's probably fucking shipping more bullshit out.
Well, I think also what happened, so sort of like China's the Silk Road Initiative, they're funding these projects just like the U.S. has been doing through the economic hitmen, third parties that they've had since the 60s and 70s and stuff, right? China's been doing the same thing. They learned, okay? Panama ended up making the deal with essentially Chinese companies that came down there, built infrastructure, invested in their economy, this and that, and of course they get kickbacks at the same because they're charging interest and all that, those loans and all those social projects or whatever and stuff that they worked on. So there is evidence that it's essentially China's running. But the U.S. has been doing the same exact thing all over the world. With the World Economic Forum, the International Monetary Funds. So, the world's a chessboard to these people.
Continue.
All right. In 2024, the canal earned nearly $5 billion in total profits, according to a study released in December by IDB Invest, which sounds like a third-party data analyst company. 23.6% of Panama's annual income is generated from the canal and companies that provide services related to the canal's operations. Panama has also experienced several U.S. military interventions over the years. All he, Trump, needs is to land 10,000 troops and that's it, said Ovidio Diaz-Espino, who was born in Panama and is the author of How Wall Street Created a Nation, J.P. Morgan, Teddy Roosevelt, and the Panama Canal. Oh, I bet that's a good book. I should check that out. He added, quote, "We don't have an army," unquote. Yeah, because Panama had been relying on the U.S.'s protection forever. I believe Smedley Butler wrote in his book, War's a Racket, he talked about being down at the Panama Canal when he was a young Marine. How the U.S. imposed a canal on Panama in the first place. So a little bit of history here, right? In 1903, Panama was a residence department of Colombia. with many Panamanians advocating openly for independence from a central government on the other side of the impassable Duran Gap jungle that they felt neglected them. Colombia, though, had little interest in letting go of the strategically located territory. For generations, outsiders had considered the narrow isthmus to be the perfect spot for a transoceanic canal that would shorten the sea voyage by thousands of miles. Ships would no longer need to circumvent South America, braving the treacherous waters off of Cape Horn, but the actual excavating of the Big Ditch, as it became known, was far more challenging than any undertaking previously attempted. French attempt to build a canal in the 1880s was met with disaster after scores of workers died from yellow fever and malaria amid allegations of financial mismanagement. The attempt, led by famed developer of the Suez Canal, Ferdinand de Lesseps, all but bankrupted France. Failing to reach terms with Colombia to build a U.S. canal, then U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt sent gunships to Panama's Atlantic and Pacific coasts to support calls for Panamanian independence. But celebrations in Panama after declaring independence were short-lived. Public opinion in the new nation soared quickly over a treaty signed with the U.S. that granted Americans open-ended use of the future canal. Panamanians accused their envoy to the U.S., French engineer and soldier Philippe Jean Boisnevert, of betraying their interests to make a fortune from the deal he cut with the U.S., but dependent on the U.S. to protect their freedom from Colombia. Panama's hands were tied. The U.S. imported workers to build the canal from across the Caribbean. An ingenious system of locks designed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers raised ships from ocean level to Gatun Lake, the largest man-made lake at the time, where they could cross the isthmus. The final explosion that flooded the canal was triggered from the White House via telegraph, in 1913. Is that kind of like how they live streamed the moon landing and shit in the 60s? It's interesting.
Not exactly like it.
Canal is opened by Wilson's finger, quote unquote, read the headline in the next day's New York Times. And then it's got a nice little picture of the opening of the Panama Canal, SS Ancon leaving West Chamber, 1914. So that's interesting. They don't have a picture of the explosion happening. And when you look at this picture, dude, just look at the stone. This shit looks like it's been there for years. It's all weathered. Look at the canal.
The bird shit on there?
Yeah, that's brand new. No way. That is not new construction.
Well, like the weathering on the far one where you see the line of the water.
Yeah.
It's like a straight line.
Yep.
Like, that's weird.
Super duper weird. Hey, whatever. Horse and buggies, dude. Built that shit.
You can see there's some clearly new concrete along it.
Yeah.
Some of this concrete looks kind of old.
Yeah,
the one in the foreground, like the corner of it's all jacked up.
Yeah, off to the left here.
All the way around it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can clearly see major weathering on this stuff. But we're no experts. Whatever.
Like, all this metal looks new.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a black and white photo, so I can't really tell that much, but it looks relatively new.
Yeah, I'd say
the concrete doesn't. The concrete looks pretty old to me.
That structure on top of the concrete there looks fairly new too.
It just looks like they fucking made it shittily.
Hey, and you can actually see the clouds though. At least the clouds that aren't photoshopped out of here. You can see some trees and stuff in the background, pretty detailed across the lake. Anyway, the U.S.-controlled canal quickly became a vital asset for American commerce and the U.S. Navy. Panama received a $10 million initial payment from the U.S. for the territory, followed by $250,000 each year. Many Panamanians resented that the canal that divided their country in half was off limits to them. Yeah, that was a big deal. $10 million in 1913, 1914, that's a lot, dude. What would that be in today?
Fucking Elon Musk money?
Right? $10 million would, in 1914, would be the equivalent of $315,605,000 in adjustments for 2025.
A year before the Federal Reserve was created, so.
Right. And then.
Just print money. These stupid Panamanians. There's some fucking monopoly money.
Well, and then so that said $250,000 a year after that. That would have been in the year 1915. A $250,000 would be worth $7.8 million in 2025. Ain't bad, but they didn't get to use it. I mean, there's a lot of shady shit that the U.S. government did to really screw over the Panamanians in this deal. It was colonialism. The country was divided in two, and you couldn't even go inside, said the author of The Canal Zone. They had everything. They had golf courses, they had recreation centers, and at the other side of the fence was Panama. And like I said, once again, in John Perkins' book, The Economic Hitman, they talk a lot about Panama and how it was, and the tensions between the people and the U.S. government and the U.S. citizens living on Panama Canal. Tensions steadily rose until January 1964, so like 50 years later, when riots broke out after demonstrators entered the off-limits canal zone and tried to raise the Panamanian flag there. 22 Panamanian students and 4 U.S. Marines died in the fighting that ensued. For 13 years, U.S. and Panamanian officials discussed a plan to return the canal to Panama during both Democrat and Republican administrations. Finally, in 1977, then-President Jimmy Carter reached an agreement with then-Panamanian strongman Omar Torrijos for the U.S. and Panama to jointly administer the crucial waterway, with the canal being fully turned over to Panama at midnight on December 31st, 1999. Thanks, Jimmy. And then Torrijos tragically went down in a plane crash, I believe.
This is a clip from a 2005 interview with John Perkins, author of Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Omar Torrijos, president of Panama, was, one of my favorite people. I really, really liked him. He was very charismatic. He was a guy who really wanted to help his country. And when I tried to bribe him or corrupt him, he said, look, John, he called me Juanito. He said, look, Juanito, I don't need the money. What I really need is for my country to be treated fairly. I need for the United States to repay the debts that you owe my people for all the destruction you've done here. I need to be in a position where I can help other Latin American countries win their independence and be free of this terrible presence from the north that you people are exploiting us so badly. I need to have the Panama Canal back in the hands of the Panamanian people. That's what I want. And so, leave me alone. Don't try to bribe me. It was 1981. And in May, Jaime Roldos was assassinated. And Omar was very aware of this. Torrijos got his family together and he said, I'm probably next. But it's okay, because I've done what I came here to do. I've renegotiated the canal. The canal will now be in our hands. He just finished negotiating the treaty with Jimmy Carter. In June of that same year, just a couple of months later, he also went down in an airplane crash, which there's no question was executed by CIA-sponsored jackals. Tremendous amount of evidence that one of Torrijos' security guards handed him at the last moment as he was getting on the plane a small tape recorder that contained a bomb.
Once again, Confessions of an Economic Hitman explains that entire story. It's wild. Anyways, fairness and not force should lie at the heart of our dealings with the nations of the world, Carter said at the signing of the ceremony for the Accords. But the final agreement still gave the U.S. the right to intervene militarily to keep the canal open, a condition that could potentially be exploited by Trump in an attempt to retake the canal by force, but unlikely to meet legal scrutiny as the canal continues to see record traffic. Once again, everybody buying their Temu shit and their wish list shit, right? The lucrative Panama Canal. In 2007, Panama began working on the canal's largest expansion in nearly a century. A new set of locks that would allow larger ships, more than 1.5 times the size of ships that previously transitioned the waterway, to travel through the canal. The new locks cost Panama more than $5 billion and went into operation in 2016. They also more than doubled the marine traffic the canal could handle. But it said earlier that they were making $5 billion a year, right? So that's already paid for itself over.
Yeah, the canal earned nearly $5 billion in total profits. So yeah, in 2024, it almost paid for it. It paid for itself.
Right.
just for that year, but who knows how much this was in 2016, right? So it's probably been paid for numerous times now.
Yeah, and this is only 8 years later, not even 10 years later, it's already making the profits, the yearly profits that it costs for the upgrade. So that's a pretty good deal for Panama.
Right, and that was the first, the first upgrade in 100 years?
Yeah.
Or almost 100 years, because it was opened in 1913?
It said the largest expansion in nearly a century.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. We paid for it. We built it, and right now, over 55% of the revenues of the Panama Canal are coming from the investment, or from that investment, not from the U.S. investment that they made so long ago. Former Administrator of Panama Canal, Jorge Luis Cañejo, told CNN, "The expanded canal has reaped billions of dollars for Panama and helped the country become a rare bastion of stability in Central America, where other nations are beset by poverty and violent drug trafficking that fuel migration to the U.S. And its success has been noticed. Panama is doing so well with the canal, there are many workers. There is so much employment," Trump said in 2011. "The U.S. foolishly gave the canal for nothing." Blame Jimmy Carter. Blame the dead guy. Why don't you? Jeez.
He said $1. I'm reading about it. And apparently he's been fact-checked, and that's false. It says the treaties involve significant U.S. commitments, including $345 million in loans and military credits to support. Moreover, the U.S. retained the right to defend the canal against threats. Historical records reveal that the U.S. had invested billions in constructing and maintaining the canal. So, Newsweek has claimed this as false.
Oh, okay.
Where Trump got that news, I don't know.
Well, probably from Elon's supercomputer that predicted he would win. Who knows? Maybe he's got one of those black mirrors that you can look into the future. But anyway, I regress. Panama officials have made clear they would not stand for any attempt to seize the lucrative waterway, which about 5% of global maritime traffic passes through. Quote, "I fully reject the insinuating words by President Donald Trump at his inaugural address relating to the Panama and its canal," unquote. Panama's President Jose Raul Molino said on X on Monday, quote, "The canal is and will remain Panamanian, and its administration will remain under Panamanian control with respect to permanent neutrality. With respect to its permanent neutrality," unquote. But the specter of another U.S. intervention has alarm bells sounding from a country that depends on both its namesake waterway and on good relations with Washington. The Panama Canal is our oil. This is as if you're threatening to take oil from Saudi Arabia, to take away the oil wells, said Diaz-Espinal. This would be devastating to the country. We'd be left with the debt and without the income. Yeah, that would be pretty devastating. And then the U.S. would have a slave class to help do stuff with, I guess. I don't know if you think that's the plan? Make some slaves?
Isn't that why they don't want the ICE going after illegal immigrants right now? Because who's going to pick the crops?
Yeah, who's going to clean our houses?
Wash your toilets.
who's going to clean our hotel rooms?
We need these illegals.
Yeah, I'm like, that is so racist. Like, oh, only, okay.
Today, actually.
So only, well, isn't that what that pastor that said the prayer for Trump's inaugural deal had shit to say about that?
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land.
Who's gonna pick our strawberries and this and that? I'm like, wow, so that's all immigrants are good for you, huh? Picking fruit and cleaning freaking houses. Yeah.
Modern day slavery.
Essentially, yes. Yeah. I'm like, that is so racist, dude. They take our jobs. Yeah. Well, there's no American kids that want to do this stuff. Yeah, because you don't want to pay them. That's the other problem is the wage gap.
Or parental guidance of, hey, learn how to fucking work, learn how to drive a car, learn how to...
Right. No, my kid wants to be a YouTube star, so I'm going to get him all the latest and greatest crap and let him do whatever he wants. He can make skateboarding videos. He can make skateboarding videos till he injures his back and then assassinates the CEO of a healthcare organization with a 3D printed gun.
Trump will save the TikTok.
Well, he's already postponed it, right?
For 75 days, apparently. Which he wasn't even president by the time they issued that.
Yeah.
But, you know, if Biden can do all those shits against Constitution and Supreme Court.
Well, I saw a thing that apparently Trump said that it was nice that Biden had pardoned all these people but forgot to pardon himself.
Yeah, Biden doesn't even know what's going on, dude. If that guy got imprisoned...
Is that what Baron Trump
if that
whispered?
Yeah.
Dude.
You forgot. You fucked yourself. You played yourself, son.
You fucked. No, he didn't whisper anything to him. He said he shook the hand of an individual either in front of him or next to him. But it looked like he leaned in and said something to him. Man, yeah, there's a lot of Tom fakery going on the internet today. Some people, for some reason, there's this video of Baron Trump that they superimposed and made him like 9 or 10 feet tall. Like walking in behind Melania and Donald Trump. And I'm like, why even do that? The kid's already taller than them both.
Is this a Nephilim giant?
Yeah,
have you heard the thing about Trump?
But hey, maybe that goes back to that Gilgamesh shit. I don't know.
Well, have you heard the thing about Trump making it so if you pay child support that you get to claim the kid on taxes? And then
what?
Yeah, like I heard a bunch of people on Instagram talking about it, and then come to find out it was some guy. Some guy just started that randomly, and he was laughing about how viral it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that is pretty
I saw
hilarious.
it too, yeah.
No, I didn't see that, but here's how you
sense,
solve
though.
that. Here's how you solve it. Split it. If the father is consistently paying his share and doing what he's supposed to do, or the mother, whoever, you know.
That's usually how it goes. Usually how it ends up is it's one year on one, you know, you get it one
Well,
year.
why not just split it? Why not just split it both 50-50?
Or
that 1 year. Then both parties get money. Problem solved.
Right.
I didn't even go to school for this, dude. But that to me seems like the most logical explanation or
if you're
solution.
In an actual relationship, you should get more than not incentivized.
Oh, that one, yeah. Keep the family unit together.
Household, yeah.
I mean, of course, you're going to have
Maybe
those
then,
people that are going to commit fraud, but
make you think twice before nutting in a woman. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. You know, condoms suck, but you got to do what you got to do.
Get a vasectomy, dude.
Yeah.
Consequences, but apparently.
Problem solved. If you don't want any kids, you can always nut in a cup and have them freeze it too. Anyway.
Be a dummy. Blow it on her tummy.
That's right. The best pregnancy prevention plan ever.
Swallow.
That one too, I guess. I don't know. All right, so we talked a little bit about Panama. Let's talk about Greenland now and why that plays such an important role. So this is actually an Associated Press article. Why Greenland, remote but resource-rich island, occupies a key position in warming world. All right, remote, icy, and mostly pristine, Greenland plays an outsized role in the daily weather experienced by billions of people and in the climate changes taking shape all over the planet. Greenland is where climate change, scarce resources, tense geopolitics, and new trade patterns all intersect, said Ohio University security and environment professor Jeff DeBelko. The world's largest island is now central to the geopolitical, geoeconomic competition in many ways, partially because of climate change, according to that professor. DeBelko. Since his first term in office, President Donald Trump has expressed interest in acquiring Greenland, which is a semi-autonomous territory of Denmark, a longtime U.S. ally and founding member of NATO. It is also home to a large U.S. military base. Why is Greenland coveted? Think of Greenland as an open refrigerator door or thermostat for a warming world, and it's in a region that is warming 4 times faster than the rest of the globe, said New York University climate scientist David Holland. Locked inside are valuable rare earth minerals needed for telecommunications, as well as uranium, billions of untapped barrels of oil, and a vast supply of natural gas that used to be inaccessible but is becoming less so. Many of the same minerals are currently being supplied mostly by China, so other countries such as the United States are interested, DeBelko said. 3 years ago, the Denmark government suspended oil development offshore from the territory of 57,000 people. But more than oil, gas, or minerals, there's ice. A ridiculous amount, said climate scientist Erock.
Not to be confused with the ones going after the illegal immigrant.
Yeah, this is actual ice.
I've been seeing a lot of people putting up all these things to know about ice and what you should not do.
Oh, yeah.
To get around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You put salt. You gotta put salt on it.
There's like modern day.
Salt melts the ice.
Underground
salt
railroad.
Melts ice, bro.
It's an underground railroad of anti-ice things going on.
Say that again.
There is an underground railroad of anti-ice propaganda going around on social media.
What happened if you see something, say something?
No.
That's over with? That only relates to terrorists with bombs, not illegal immigrants? Anyways, if the ice melts, it would reshape coastlines across the globe and potentially shift weather patterns in such a dramatic manner that the threat was basis of a Hollywood disaster movie. What was that, 2012?
No, I think this is about the movie The Thing. The John Carpenter.
That was Antarctica, but
that's
man.
actually why. No, but this is going on in Greenland, I bet you.
And so they need that to give it to unleash it in Russia?
Yeah, and that's why all these drones, the alien stuff.
They're wanting to make sure that mankind doesn't use this weapon on itself. It's an interesting theory. We should get on Reddit. Throw that one out there. See what the internet has to say. Greenland holds enough ice that if it all melts, the world's seas would rise by 24 feet. Nearly a foot of that so-called zombie ice, already doomed to melt no matter what happens, a 2022 study found. Sure, that's why the Statue of Liberty's, the water around that little island has remained the same.
And that's why the Panama Canal is flooding. They need to...
Yeah. That's why they had to put $5 billion into it to expand it. Not widen it out. They had to build it up, too,
Yeah, lock and dam.
Yep. Since
fucking thing. It's melting out.
It might come out, dude.
Do you see that thing about that egg they found?
Oh, is it a face hugger egg?
What?
Like Antarctica.
Xenomorph egg? I don't know, man.
Look up it on Twitter. That's the only way for X.
It's the real news. Yeah, but since 1992, Greenland has lost about 182 billion tons of ice each year, with losses hitting 489 billion tons a year in 2019. Okay.
So we could extract that ice water and send it to Mars.
Yeah. Good call. Elon should just start shooting rockets of ice water from Iceland or from Greenland to Mars. That makes sense.
Take a while because they couldn't do that with the LA fires with the ocean.
Right.
Salt water.
And apparently none of this water None of this ice evaporates either, dude. Like, it melts and just becomes water, and then it stays water forever. It does not evaporate and go up into rain clouds. It's that special Greenland ice, man.
An equilibrium of water that there is.
Well, if the Earth, the flat Earth, man, is just pouring off the edge, then we don't have to worry about it. I don't believe in that theory, though. I believe it. If it was a flat Earth, it'd have a dome.
Circle of life.
Greenland. Why is Greenland's location so important? Because it straddles the Arctic Circle between the United States, Russia, and Europe. Greenland is a geopolitical prize that the U.S. and others have eyed for more than 150 years. It's even more valuable as the Arctic opens up more to shipping and trade, plus the oil and all the other natural resources, right? None of that takes into consideration the unique look of the ice-covered island that has some of the Earth's oldest rocks. I see it as insanely beautiful. It's eye-watering to be there, said Holland, who has conducted research on the ice more than 30 times since 2007. Pieces of ice that the size of the Empire State Building are just crumbling off cliffs and crashing into the ocean. And also the beautiful wildlife, all the seals and the killer whales. It's just breathtaking. That would actually be amazing to go out there and see that.
It'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that would be eye-watering. It'd be, insanely beautiful. I'm sure it fits the bill there. So we all heard Greenland said F off. Trump told Canada it can, if they want to avoid these tariffs that they're all worried about, then they should just become the next 51st state. But he was suggesting that a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada could come down by February 1st, according to a Yahoo News a HuffPost article, January 23rd, 2025.
This is from a press briefing on January 31st, 2025, by White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
The president will be implementing tomorrow a 25% tariffs on Mexico, 25% tariffs on Canada, and a 10% tariff on China for the illegal fentanyl that they have sourced and allowed to distribute into our country, which has killed tens of millions of Americans. These are promises made and promises kept by the president.
So, once again, land grabs by Russia, bad. Land grabs by Trump, good.
I think it's still bad.
I think it's still bad, too. We've asked some of our Canadian brother.
Fun of it, yeah.
We should get Davey Wavy on here and ask him, our Canadian brother, how he feels about this. I know he doesn't really like to dig into politics too much. He likes to stay with the music scene and the paranormal stuff, but why not get him on here? Any excuse to talk to Davey Wavy is a good excuse, right?
Right.
Right. You're bloody well right. You got a bloody right to say.
Plus, Mel, have you done a show with Davey yet?
I think so, yeah. Pretty sure, yeah.
All right. So did you guys watch the inauguration?
Yeah.
I did.
I watched
Sounds like,
part of it.
Now we learned about Panama and Greenland.
We also learned that Elon was a Nazi.
Yep. We'll have to do a better episode on that.
On the inauguration? Or Elon?
More in depth, yes.
But yeah, everybody's losing their mind about the autistic kid that got overstimulated in history class when Elon did the Nazi salute, both sides of the stage. And it's pretty interesting to watch the internet freak out right now about this.
Yeah, I can't tell. Was he really doing it on purpose or trollingly?
Yeah, I don't know if it was...
or just impulsive.
I think it was an impulse, honestly. I think he probably meant to do like something else, but since he's just like socially awkward, like...
he should just owned up and been like, yeah, I fucked that up.
Yeah, I don't know. Or
Twitter where he's kind of mocking it.
Or he's an actual Nazi. Like the Hydra in Captain America 2. They infiltrated all sections of government. They made it.
Hail Hydra.
Thanks, Operation Paperclip.
Look out, Mossad. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
Any pagers or Tesla fucking Cybertrucks that blow up. Maybe that's what that was.
The Las Vegas one?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it was like a Mossad pager.
That whole thing.
About,
we need to do a more in-depth thing. Maybe we can talk
but
to
everybody
them.
forgot about it already. It's old news.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
It wasn't a terrorist attack. That guy wasn't a terrorist in New Orleans.
News. Everything's old news.
Big Daddy Trump on center stage. And how a humble, white trash kid from a broken family can become the vice president of the United States. What a success story.
He's weird. You see him playing with his kids? He's so weird.
He was playing with them?
No, like there's video of his kids, you know, and he's interacting with them.
Yeah, and that's weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
What was
Remember
it?
they say he's weird, he fucks couches? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Imagine growing up and all these kids are going to be like, your dad fucks couches. Your dad's a couch fucker. Like, oh man, those poor kids are fucked.
That was proven to be wrong.
I know, but those kids don't give a fuck.
That's true, they don't. I don't know, at those private schools, it might be a little different.
Yeah, I'm sure
they'd probably find other ways to mess with you. Be like, I know why you have two black eyes. You know what I mean?
Why does your daddy wear mascara?
Yeah. I don't know. I've never been to a private school. I don't know. I don't know how they dog on each other.
Only two genders.
What's that?
Said, didn't they declare only two genders?
Well, supposedly, speaking of that, yeah, so all the DEI departments got shut down in the government, and I guess that went through a lot of corporations. I never saw anything in my job, but I heard somebody that lives around the Chicagoland area or works around there, they got an email from their company saying that all DEI stuff needs to like stop immediately. If anybody's caught doing it or like pushing it or whatever secretly, like they will be reprimanded or something. And I was like, what? Like, what is this? The Minority Report? So I get.
They're saying they're even targeting like banks that are working with government funding and whatnot. Need to roll back those programs.
Yeah.
I think this is another episode because people might have got bored hearing about Greenland and Panama and turned off already.
I think only you got bored, dude. Trump says DEI programs are illegal, yes, in the federal government. So that happened. But don't worry, dude. I'll spice this up.
Just in the government, though, right?
Say that again.
Just in the government, like not in like the private sector?
Yeah, he can't. I don't think you can make it illegal in the private sector. I mean, I guess he could, but what would that look like?
I also read something I read something that he's getting rid of they were getting rid of affirmative action too.
Yes, I heard about that as well. I don't know. Let me look into that.
Or that he wants to or something. Something about affirmative action.
President Trump ends affirmative action requirements for government contractors. January 23rd, 2025. Contractors and grant recipients prohibited from maintaining DEI programs or engaging in discrimination. Duties of the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs heavily curtailed. So in a wide sweeping executive order, President Donald Trump has eliminated the requirement for federal contractors to maintain affirmative action programs. His order, ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity, quote unquote, revokes Executive Order 11246, Equal Employment Opportunity, which was signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1965. In addition, the order prohibits federal contractors, subcontractors, and grant recipients from maintaining, quote, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, or diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility programs. The order also heavily curtails the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, which was previously charged with enforcing affirmative action requirements and had been used by the Biden administration to audit contractors in order to achieve pay equality. Interesting. So yeah, with that DEI ending, that apparently ended affirmative action as well.
I'm reading 1961, President John F. Kennedy created a Committee on Equal Employment Opportunity and issued Executive Order 10925, which used the term affirmative action to refer to measures designed to achieve non-discrimination, civil rights. Is that why he got shot?
Maybe.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, because
Trump just released. Is it all going to be redacted?
Probably.
The JFK files and the MLK and the RFK. So yeah, don't name your kid RFK, JFK, MLK, or anything that ends with a K.
Kennedy. All right. Well, I think this concludes it, right?
Yeah, there's a lot more to come with all the declassification.
Yeah, we're going to have to... Man, there's so much coming down the pipeline, dude.
It's going to stop the war the first day.
That didn't happen? What are you talking about? Well, he did release the January 6ers, and he released some from Iowa, too, I think. There was like, how many... Didn't you find something about that, Erock?
Yes, there was 9 Iowans that were charged in connection with the January 6th attack are receiving pardons from President Donald Trump.
9.
1,500 people charged. 9.
Nice. If you like this episode, please share it. That's the best way you can support us right now, is sharing it, getting it out there. Please follow us on Instagram at Iowa Talk Guys _podcast.
On YouTube and Rumble at Iowa Talk Guys.
IowaTalkGuys.com and Iowa Talk Guys on Twitter.
No, and always remember, you can't eat the cake. It's got the red dye in it. Frosty.
No, the yellow cake. The yellow cake doesn't have the red dye. The Kool-Aid has the red dye.
Oh yeah, don't drink the red dye Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't eat the yellow snow.
Don't grab Panama by the pussy.
Iowa Talk Guys out.
Hi, good night, everybody.
I ain't got a good brain. Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys. Oh, durga.
It wasn't a space laser. It wasn't a murder hornet. It wasn't Sasquatch. It was a bullet.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You lose. Good day, sir. Here I am with you in Iowa, and I'd rather be here. I'd rather be here. So thank you very much. Very nice. Appreciate it.